Here to listen to you. We'll introduce ourselves. A few might have some things to share with you, their thoughts on the upcoming special session or taxes. But then after that, I will go through the housekeeping of how the actual listening will work. So I'm going to just hand the microphone down the line here to my colleagues, starting with Senator Armendariz.
I like to stand, that's okay. My name is Christy Armendariz. I represent District 18 in Omaha and all of Bennington proper and most of Bennington public schools. I have a large portion of Omaha public schools as well. And I know the property tax proposal that is not final includes a lot of education stuff. So top of mind to my constituents is property tax and always has been. Bennington Public Schools area is one of the highest mill levies of the entire state. So top of mind to them, they pay an exorbitant amount in property tax compared to all of their other taxes. I'm here to listen to ideas, learned a couple yesterday that I hadn't thought of, and anxious to hear what you guys have today to tackle the property tax issue for us.
Well, good evening. I'm Mike Moser. I represent Platte County and Stanton County, most of Stanton County, west, right up to one of the avenues that is on the outskirts of Norfolk. And my constituents are mostly concerned about property taxes. But I wanted to come tonight to hear what some of the citizens here have to say and to learn more about it. I think from what I've learned from talking to some of my colleagues, most of them are wanting to do something to even out our forms of taxation. And I think there are some that are really concerned about how this is going to affect education. And I think we all understand that. And it'd be my opinion that we want to protect education to make sure that our children can learn and succeed in life. So with that, I'm going to pass to Senator Conrad.
All right. Well, thank you so much to all of my colleagues. Sorry to be a few minutes late coming from another meeting, and welcome to beautiful North Lincoln. So it's an honor to host this important event in my district, and I am so grateful that everybody gave so much time and energy to be here to weigh in on so many important issues that face our state in regard to our tax policy, in relation to our budget, and in relation to our obligations, moral, legal, and fiscal, to keep our great public schools strong now and for future generations. So really excited to hear the feedback from people today. We've been working carefully and closely across the aisle for years to try and deliver targeted property tax relief and other tax relief where possible, while balancing that with the need to meet other critical state obligations. The governor has put before us an opportunity to have a more focused discussion on property tax relief this summer, which will commence in just a few days. I'm eager to see more details about the governor's plan, which have yet to be unveiled, which is a bit out of alignment with how we normally do things in a transparent and open manner in our proud tradition of open government in Nebraska. But I will continue to work collaboratively with anybody when I can. But I will just want to be candid about my opposition to tax increases and tax shifts that put a greater burden on seniors and working families that seek to benefit the wealthiest, largest landowners in Nebraska. So thank you all for being here, and thank you so much to my colleagues.
Hello, my name is George Dungan. I'm the state senator from Northeast Lincoln in LD 26. Also, yes, welcome from North Lincoln. Really happy to be here, really excited to be a part of this conversation. For those who pay attention to the legislature, as clearly many of you do, I'm on the revenue committee, you probably know, so I've been a part of a lot of the conversations last year, this last session, the session before that, and then a part of some of the conversations in the interim leading up to this next session. So very excited to have the opportunity to hear the voice of my constituents in this. A number of people have reached out to me stating their concerns, stating their opposition to some of the things they've heard. So I really am excited to hear about some of the ideas that people do have and highlighting some of the ways this impacts everyday Nebraskans. I think it's important, yes, to also state some of my general principles in this area, given that I am on the Revenue Committee. My entire time in these conversations, I sort of had a couple of guiding lights or guiding principles I try to live by when it comes to tax policy. One is that obviously everybody agrees property tax is an issue, and that's something we all agree on. Where we disagree is how to fix the problem. And in that conversation, one of the guiding principles I try to live by is the solution can't just be a tax shift. And we keep talking about that, but we can't just move from one revenue stream to another and call that actual property tax relief. Two, whatever the solution is we come up, it can't be inherently regressive, right? We have to make sure that we're not putting an overdue burden on the backs of everyday Nebraskans and everyday working Nebraskans to pay, like Senator Conrad said, for tax breaks for wealthy corporations and multimillionaires. And then three, and this sometimes gets lost in the wash, we really have to make sure we keep renters in mind. 34% of Nebraskans are renters. In my district in LD26, it's upwards of about 46%, so almost half of my district are renters. So whatever solution we come up with, we have to make sure that they are also a part of that. Everybody's affected by this. So thank you all for being here. Very excited to hear some of the potential solutions, and looking forward to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. This is what I love about following my colleagues. I don't have a lot to say. My name is Lynn Walls, and I represent Legislative District 15, which is Fremont Valley, Dodge, Scribner, Hooper. So I'm in the unique position where I represent urban and rural communities. I sit on the Education Committee, and that is one thing that I am very, very, I guess, concerned about when we're talking about property tax and property tax relief. Because I know that education is important to, it doesn't matter who you are, kids, families, grandparents, and I know that education is really the cornerstone for Nebraska, and it is what moves us forward. So I'm here to listen to you. I'm excited to listen to you and your ideas. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, I am Terrell McKinney. I represent District 11, which is in North Omaha. I'm excited to hear from y'all tonight. After hearing from individuals in Omaha last night, I think this is a very important conversation. And some of the things that are on top of my mind going into this special session is, number one, if we're serious about property tax relief, I believe the state of Nebraska needs to be super open-minded to how to address it. One of the ways is opening our minds up to new revenue streams, which means we should be looking at legalizing marijuana to pay for education and property tax relief. Also thinking about renters, because a huge portion of my district are renters, and anything we do over these next few weeks or however long we go, we have to keep renters at the top of mind. The next is thinking about local control of our public schools, making sure that the state doesn't try to take over our public schools for numerous reasons. The things I'm thinking about is inequity in funding, and also polarized politics that we have in this country and how those could affect our schools. Then lastly, if we're really being honest, I think we should also consider finding ways to decrease our jails and our prisons, because it's a huge burden on our state. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jane Raybould. I am so grateful that so many of you are here taking time out of your busy lives, because we really want to hear your ideas and your thoughts. I'm Jane Raybould, State Senator. I was born and raised in this district that I represent, and I've represented for the last 14 years as a Lancaster County Commissioner and on the Lincoln City Council, and now as your State Senator. I also want to thank Senator Machaela Cavanaugh and her team for organizing the event that we had yesterday in Omaha, which had another packed crowd, and the one event here in Lincoln. Now I'm going to sit down. You can tell me. You know, I just want to let you know that I have already heard from a lot of people all across the state of Nebraska, and we know that property taxes are too high. And I've heard it especially from our seniors, our veterans, and disabled individuals who are on a fixed income. And you know, as we approach approach these discussions in special session, it is important to also acknowledge the reliance on property taxes for funding public education and local government just didn't happen overnight. This has been a lengthy process spanning several governors and legislatures, shifting the fiscal responsibility from the state to the local communities. It took years for Nebraska to get to the very bottom, ranking 49th of all the states in giving the least amount of state funding for public education. In Lancaster County, 62 cents out of every dollar goes towards funding public schools. And all the comments we heard yesterday, and I know how you all feel because you care very much, we love our public education and we know it does a great job. You know, last year we passed transformative legislation allocating $1 billion to the Education Trust Fund and $250 million every year. Many of the school educators and superintendents that I have spoken with, they said, just let the process work. They usually come around with their 3-year budget, and we've only given this very transformative property tax relief funding public education 1 year. In this special session, we must focus on solutions, on right-sizing this property tax burden by being thoughtful and deliberative, and not rushing without knowing the adverse impact on Nebraska working families. We can't simply rehash the same legislation from last session that wasn't approved, where businesses, the ag community, constituents were not buying what the administration was saying. We need a thoughtful approach that includes financial modeling of proposals that must answer the following questions. Is this funding reliable? Is this funding predictable? Is this funding sustainable? And most importantly, is it equitable? Meaning that we don't simply cost shift to sales tax and push that burden on hardworking Nebraska families in the process. If you really want to run government more like a business, as the governor has stated, then modeling, forecasting, phasing, and evaluating are exactly what businesses do before they trigger any action. I ought to know. We have a business that has over 3,000 associates. The governor also stated that far too many seniors are being kicked out of their homes and too many young farmers are losing their leases and land. Perhaps we should be laser focused on those issues by expanding the homestead exemption for our seniors in owner-occupied homes and including the young farmers who have little to no equity built up in their land. Funding these transformative proposals going forward on a state budget that is already encumbered and burdened in lowering income taxes for the top 2 wealthiest tiers of wealthiest Nebraskans and corporations will indeed be challenging, and that is why I would like to freeze those income tax reductions for 3 years. Most importantly, we are so eager to hear your thoughts, your suggestions, and your solutions. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And it's not often that we get played to a balcony, so we're really pretty impressed. Anybody that's in politics are much like actors, and they love to play the full houses. I talked to a minister as I was coming in, and he asked me if it would be inappropriate to pass an offering plate. And I said I didn't think that would be appropriate with this size of crowd, but you know, I'm sorry if I offended some minister. My district is District 12, which is Omaha and the little town of Ralston, which is 68127 and 68137. And my district is pretty much middle class. It's what we call a purple district, and so there's almost an equal amount of people that have the R and people that have the D. And my own commitment is, quite frankly, country, state, community, before party. I have to be a registered Republican, and I say that registered. I have been censored by the party, and some of you may have been knowledgeable about some of the run-ins I've had. From a philosophy where I'm at on the governor's plan, and I told him this morning, George and I both had to serve on the task force of it, and I said, I cannot function on a philosophy of jump and then it will appear. I was a hospital administrator at Bergen and Children's for a number of years, about 35, I guess. And so we didn't do anything. When you're dealing with boards, community, and doctors, you know, you have to have some pro formas. You need to have, as Jane said, you have to have some thought-out process. I also have an article that was in the Omaha World Herald Public Post as of yesterday. And one of my comments in that article was, I have a great concern about the state trying to take over all of public education, at least of the funding. I grew up with some managers and my dad as well that would always say, don't bite off more than you can chew. And the worst thing that we can do is get halfway into the process and figure out that we don't know enough about it. So I'm here mostly, I've talked quite a bit, but I'm here mostly, I want to hear from you because we live in a bit of a silo, if you will, legislatively, and we need to hear from people. And it's much easier when you have a topic like this that draws people than to try to have a town hall of your own in your little community and you get 12 people to show up. But thank you again for being here, and we'll stay as late as Machaela will let us. One of your own.
Thank you, sir. I'm Carolyn Bozin. I represent District 25, which is Southeast Lincoln, Lancaster County area, but does also include Bennett. I want to also echo a lot of the comments that my colleagues have made, and thank you all for coming. I think this truly is the best way for us to get some of that feedback, to hear from the constituents, to hear from those who are going to be impacted by whatever we have those conversations about, presumably starting Thursday. I think it's important that we keep an open mind, that we take the feedback that you give us, follow up with you. So for those of you that are here with great ideas, please share them or follow up with us via email if you're not comfortable speaking or whatever the case may be. But do take away that we're grateful you're here, we're glad that we have this opportunity, and thanks for joining us.
I'll be brief. My name is Bo Ballard. I represent District 21 in Northwest Lincoln and Northern Lancaster County. So the communities of Malcolm, Raymond, Waverly. So excited to listen, excited to hear your thoughts. As I go door to door, this is the #1 issue I hear is property tax. So looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Well, hi, I'm Anna Wishart. I represent District 27, which is Lincoln and Lancaster County, and it's good to see so many familiar faces in the audience today. Thank you for those who co-sponsored and hosted this event tonight. Thank you to the university for this beautiful room for us to have a listening session. This is my last session, a special session, my last year as state senator. It's been one of the most incredible experiences, 8 years of my life. And I'll go into this session as I have every piece of legislation open-minded, willing to listen to every perspective, and curious about ways we can solve some pretty complicated challenges. And so really looking forward to listening to all of you tonight.
Okay, quick housekeeping. Since we all like each other so much, we're going to scoot closer together so we're not quite so lopsided. You're not? Yes. Get cozy. All right. This end, you can get cozier this way. Everybody move towards Mike Mosher. It generally is. Thank you to my colleagues for their introductions. So this is how things are going to go, but before we get into that, I just want to acknowledge that we have several legislative staff here. We have Turner from Senator McKay's office, Drake, also from Senator McKay's office, Camden from Senator Dungan's office, Brian from Senator DeBoer's office, Noah from Senator Wall's office, Hayden from Senator Wishart's office, Drew from Senator Mosier's office, Tyler, I see you in the orange, and from Senator Ibach's office, and Gabe from Senator Flood's office, and definitely not least, but last, my staff, Ethan, you stand up Ethan, and Margaret, I don't know where Margaret is, but they did all of this. So thank you to Ethan and Margaret for your hard work. And if I missed any legislative staff that aren't wearing bright orange, I apologize. Oh, wait, Kate Wolf from Senator Raybould's office. Thank you, Kate. She's wearing a subtle white. Okay, so there's a lot of people in this room, and we want to hear from as many as you can, and we won't be able to hear from everyone. So we do have these sheets. They have a QR code on them. If you don't feel like speaking or you don't get the opportunity to speak, if you go to this, it's a Google form, and it will be shared within full legislature. I think we have about 90 people who have gone to it so far. So after today, everybody's submissions will be shared with all 49 senators. So please feel free to fill that out with any thoughts that you have. We are going to limit it to 2 minutes today, and so what we're going to do is have people line up in the middle, and I will just let you know when your 2 minutes are up. But so people will come, you can start lining up now, come to the middle, and then we'll just have you go to one of the other sides when you're done. And in the interest of time, of course, there's another staffer, Christina. Oh, no, okay, never mind, I didn't see you. So in the interest of time, everybody's gonna get 2 minutes, and I ask, you may not agree with everything people say, and you may agree wholeheartedly with what people say, but a lot of applause takes up time, and disrespect will not be tolerated. So please be respectful of everyone's perspectives. You don't have to agree with them, we just want to hear from them. So thank you very much. And you don't have to spell your name or give your address, but if you could say your name, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Richard Schmelling. I live here in Lincoln. For you senators that may have served on the Transportation Committee, you got a big dose of me in the past several sessions. Excuse me. I think that there's a very simple solution to this problem. And that solution is that the taxation system for the state has been likened to a three-legged stool. What happened was when Governor Ricketts came into office, he sawed off one of those legs because what he did was he lessened the tax brackets for the highest income taxpayers. And then, of course, we have Governor Pillen, and he came in and he lopped off some more of that leg. So we have a stool that is unbalanced. Now, I think the way that we can restore the balance is to go ahead and rescind those income tax cuts and get that stool back on the level. I am retired, I'm on fixed income, and if you hike that sales tax, it's going to impact me tremendously. I ask you not to do it. And, you know, property tax relief for the apartment complexes, do you think they're going to lower our rent if we lower the property tax? No, not going to happen. You've got a tough battle to fight, but I think there's a way out of this, and I urge you to try to get that stool back upright and have all three legs the same length. And my 2 minutes are probably about up. Thank you.
My name is Bill Prongy. I'm from Jane Raybould's district, and I'm an expert in nothing, so what I'll say is pretty naive. It seems like there are three ways to assess people what they can afford to pay towards supporting the community. What you get, what you got, and what you spend. And of those three, obviously, what you spend is the worst. We'll get into that in a minute. What you got would be the best. And 300 years ago, property tax and wealth were almost synonymous. and it made a lot of sense. Obviously, it doesn't today because most people's wealth is in other forms. If there was a way to tax wealth, that would be obviously simplest and most fair way to provide support for the state. And that would catch the people who were born on third base and thought they had a triple. Absent that, it seems like second best would be income tax, and I would be all for raising the income tax to reduce the property tax and leave the sales tax more or less alone. The argument there is that our income tax is based on the federal income tax, and people put a lot of effort into making it as fair as possible. If we increase the way we collect taxes, it might make Nebraskans a little more aware of what the federal government does with taxes. Thank you.
Ron Cunningham, Lincoln, Nebraska, Senator Lizard's representative. I think we have to be fair to the renters, as we brought up at times. One of the things that I'd like to know is how the inheritance tax is going to tie into this total program. I am for helping young people get started in a business, and if that takes some type of benefit to the renter or the farm renter, fine. But I think the inheritance tax is so important because so many people have accumulated wealth, and they've accumulated as a result of the government assisting them through tax credits, benefits, things like that. And I hate to see that eliminated, but I'd like to know how it's going to play out. The other thing, driving around, I don't want church talk at all. Driving around Lincoln, there's thousands of homes that are $150,000, $200,000 homes. Everyone does not live in $1 million home or $750,000. My wife and I have been fortunate. We live in a very, very nice home, but I want this to be proportional. For you take a 50% tax reduction on someone that owns a $200,000 home and a 50% tax reduction for someone that has an $800,000 home. That person that's got the $800,000 home can buy one heck of a lot of pop before they're affected. And you just got to do something that's fair and just. Thank you.
My name is Vern Carlson, and these are some ideas I have for tax relief. Call Christy Nome and ask her how South Dakota is able to function on less taxes than Nebraska. They don't have an income tax of any kind. How do they do that? Florida is another example of a state with a much lower tax burden. I like living here. I don't want to move. The fact that Governor Pillen is not going to have listening sessions in Omaha, Lincoln, or Grand Island, the large population centers, concerns me when it comes to allocation of education dollars. Will the state pick winners and losers when it comes to education funding? What is being done to stop large investors from buying up single-family homes and farmland in Nebraska? I've heard that a major factor that drives up property values and prices prices new startup farmers and homeowners out of the market are large investors buying up property. Implement a progressive property tax to discourage large investors like Bill Gates from buying up thousands of acres of farmland and single-family homes. Has there been any discussion of encouraging farmers to grow industrial hemp so Nebraska can grow a better economy? When I lived in Texas, they had a thriving economy based on oil revenues. Hemp growth would require far less fertilizer, water, and pesticides. The revenue it could generate is substantially better than GMO corn, which is a substandard product. We could produce paper, building materials, food, and many other products from industrial hemp, which will not get you high, it's just an industrial product. Release geriatric prisoners who were trapped in our jails by mandatory minimum sentences. release all prisoners who committed nonviolent drug offenses, reform the prison review board so more nonviolent prisoners can be released, and document spending better, hire people to document our spending.
Hi, Gary Busick. I live about 15 miles north of here on an acreage in Saunders County. My question I never got to ask the governor at his town hall meeting in Fremont was, if the law passes, what happens in 4 years, 3 years, that the property values go up 40%. We live on an acreage, and land value around for the acreages are just ridiculous, and it's going to hit everybody that's got a home on an acreage. And now, if you lower the property tax on it, and say they buy $800,000 acreage out there, and taxes go down $4,000 because that'd be close to $10,000 for the taxes on it. People gonna jack up their prices because they got another $350 to spend on principal and interest? Now, California for years had it, if you stayed in your house, your property valuation was restricted to how much it would go up to by inflation. I have not heard if anything was ever mentioned on that, or we're going to just be on an open market of what the valuation is going to be on the property. Thank you.